Hey, you guys, welcome to the preview show of Glory 80. Well, I'm here with no other than Robin Black. He's like a guru in the fight sport, he's a fight commentator, and he knows everything about fight sport, man. Oh, yeah, you are, man. You
No,
are. You're like a guru to me. You're a fight commentator, and you're doing well. So, how you been?
I've been good, man. First of all, legend, man. Coming from you, that. Those are some kind words. I get to travel around and analyze martial arts of almost every sort in almost every country around the world, and learn it constantly, and constantly be follow my curiosity and get inspired by it. But thank you for the kind words, man. It's nice of you to put me over like that.
Well, let's go over to what we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about Glory 80, upcoming fights, and we'll talk a lot more about all the things that surrounding Glory 80. Why do you love kickboxing and Glory
Yeah.
so much?
So to me, the art, the action that is created in the moments is shaped by the parameters, the ring or cage or the environment, whatever kind, the rounds, the rules, especially the rules, what you can do, what you cannot do. That creates it. You see boxing, we know there are two weapons and there are limited numbers of targets. Certain other sports, you can do a million things. Kickboxing just kind of gets it perfectly right. The
Mhm.
weapons that you can use, the targets that you can attack, it shapes a particular kind of fighting. To me, the heavyweight king of glory is the best striker on planet Earth, or the best heavyweight striker on planet Earth, because we have so many weapons and so many targets and so much freedom in there to create. It's just the purity of it. And
Mhm.
from a
Mhm.
striking, a punching and kicking and striking perspective, it's just ultra pure.
And what makes the fight so exciting for you?
So I think there's an urgency in glory, right? There's an urgency, especially today. Right now, I feel like when you talk to kickboxing fans around the world, they love the amount of fights that there are right now
Yeah.
because the fights are meaningful, right?
Mhm.
Every show is meaningful. You can't if there was six glory shows a week, you'd want to see them all, but you're busy with your life. The amount of shows that there are right now make every fight meaningful. So you may not get the rematch if it doesn't go your way, unless you happen to be, Botter or somebody really, where your lifetime has earned it. The
Yeah.
weapons that you can use, the impact, the balance between artistry and physicality. It's,
Mhm.
Glory has that perfect balance between athletic platform, how big and strong and fast and I am, and art, how skillful you are. That package works perfectly.
It does, and I agree with you. So, looking at all the fights that you ever have seen, let's talk about
Yeah, wow.
K1. Let's talk about Glory. Let's talk about Infusion. All the
Yeah.
other fights that you have seen. Which one of is your
Yeah.
best fight?
Oh man, that's so difficult to say. You go first.
well, well,
Tell
if
me
I
about
if I
one
start to talk,
or two of them.
well, if I start to talk about a fight that I would probably choose one of maybe Remy Bonjasky versus Vernon
Yeah.
White. Oh, my favorite fight was my own fight. One of the fights that I had against Vernon White. It was in Las Vegas.
Mhm.
Like people like Michael Jordan were there, Mike Tyson was there, and Dr. Dre. And
What
it
year?
was
What year was that again? What year was that?
wow, that should be somewhere 2002. It was just before I had my, breakthrough, and was in Bellagio Hotel, and then I had to fight three fights. When I kicked him, it was one of the fights on the highlights. I jumped up and I wanted to make my famous knee, jumping knee.
Yeah.
And then he moved his head like this, and then I kicked him on the forehead, and then the fight
Yeah.
was over.
Yeah.
That
It's
was one of my
amazing.
favorite fights, and the fight that I really think that maybe one of the best fight that I've ever seen. Well, maybe not the technical fight. Mark Hunt versus Ray Safo.
Oh yeah.
When they start to talk, they were talking,
Yeah.
they
Yeah.
punched each other, and then start to talk again. I
Yeah.
was like, "Come on, you guys! They're not.
Yeah.
that's not good for your head.
Yeah, it's to the audience watching, we will find that entertaining, but to the two guys engaged, it's stealing parts of their attention
Oh
that they
yeah.
could be deploying towards defenses, towards attacking, towards the push and the pull of the fight, and they're stealing, but they're doing it to each other, and so
Yeah.
it's adding an extra element. God, there's so many. I like to look at sometimes, especially now when I've been immersed in glory. I was in Amsterdam this weekend, and then when I was coming home on the plane, I was starting to think about Glory 80. I also spent a bit of time with Josh Johnsey in Amsterdam, who's one of the
Yeah.
great young fighters. And so I like to think about how the different eras have changed so much. I was looking at old Alistair Overeem during his run,
Yeah.
and and where he was just smashing car accidents of fights.
Yeah.
And when we think of that era, you think of how big and strong and jacked he was, and that's what people
Oh
talk
man, he was
about.
like a monster.
He was a physical
Yeah.
monster, and you can put up just an unlimited amount of highlights from that era, from his tournament era, and see him kneeing and smashing and hitting. But you also can see the athleticism sort of blended into the artistry. And
Hmm.
you very much were, I was speaking with a friend of mine today, and I told him that I was talking with you, and he said Remy is the smartest kickboxer of all time.
Thanks.
Do you did you think of kickboxing as a cerebral art form? Like, obviously you're big and strong and fast, and when you kick people, it kills them. But but is it a cerebral art to you?
Well, for me it's like the the the, the perfect art that there is. Kickboxing is for me. Moving inside the ring. When you kick someone, it's people think it's luck, but in my fights, you have to prepare a knockout. Things like kicking a
Mm-hmm.
couple times to the legs and then kick up. You know,
Mm-hmm.
acting like you're gonna kick down, but then kick up.
Mm-hmm.
And hitting someone on the head. That is for me. It was unique. And I loved it. I
Mm-hmm.
never wanted to hurt somebody. For
Yep.
but it was
Yeah.
it still is. It still is
At,
the best thing I've
for
ever done.
Yeah, I mean, for an artist at your caliber, where you are fighting the greatest fighters in the world, the freedom, and I know what you mean. It's hard for an audience to possibly connect these two things. You do not want to hurt that man, but the freedom to see what is possible when you are absolutely unencumbered and you can strike a man in the head like that. It's a
Yeah.
wild thing, It's a wild, wild thing.
It's
Um,
it's
I,
it's
when
it's,
I,
it's like it's
Yeah,
like
go on,
crazy,
please.
because you have two persons working their ass off in the preparation,
Mm.
and then stepping in the ring and show the world who's the strongest. That I loved it. I loved it. But who's your favorite current glory fighter?
Wow,
You
that
have,
is
you
a
have fighters like Butter Harvey, Jamal.
yes, of course, the greats, like the greats. I mean, Rico is the current version of the world's greatest striker at heavyweight, right? And I won't go out and say, you asked me 20 minutes from now or 20 minutes ago, I wouldn't say Rico is my favorite fighter in glory. But when I'm thinking about him, the way that he puts together all of the attributes, so the physical, the mental, the iron, the psychological
The
iron
monster.
that he has, yes,
Mhm.
the fitness to be able to handle it and get better as the fight goes on, the technical proficiency where everything is right. Sometimes you look at somebody like that, and when you're engaged in a conversation like this, I'm thinking about Rico as one of my, and it's interesting because fighting is the pure aspect of fighting. What we're discussing right now gets blended with the audience and
Mhm.
being famous and being popular and all of those things. And Rico doesn't add all that extra sizzle, you
Mhm.
know. which is sort of why you see these young guys come up, and if one can defeat him, one of these, these flashier kids, they'll capture other people's imagination. But I end up loving the guys who are just pure in their skill.
Yeah.
How about you, as a retired great? Who's your favorite glory
Well,
fighter right now?
well, I have a couple of them. I don't have one just, but I really look at guys like Vakitov,
Mm-hmm.
Pereira when he was still in glory. I love those two fighters, and also one of the new generation kind of guys, guys like Donovan Wissa. I love how
Mm,
he fights, I love how he makes his kicks and the combination. So every time they fight, I'm really looking
yeah.
forward. And but if we look at the last glory event, what do you think of that event?
Their Glory's hitting it from an epic standpoint right now. You know what I mean? Like, these events are big and they're meaningful,
Yeah.
and a good, I don't know who actually, you'll know. I don't know who is responsible for exactly like finalizing these cards, but
Mhm.
when you can put on some of the,
Robbie Timmers. He's the
it is, eh?
yeah. He's the one who's putting the matchmaking together, and he's doing a really great job. That's what
Hmm.
I feel.
I
Every
think
time
so.
he comes with a card, the card looks stacked and looks good. So I'm happy with what he's doing.
Does he have a team of other? I mean, it's funny you mentioned this. People don't understand matchmaking is truly like an art form,
Yeah,
you know? Um, and no knock, I cover the UFC in Canada on Sports Center every Saturday night.
yeah,
But when something like the UFC is happening, I know personally from talking to matchmakers that sometimes it's literally just spreadsheets. They'll just
yeah.
have, I don't know why I put it like a board, it would be digital, but they'll have their digital spreadsheets and they're like, who's free and available at 170 pounds for Saturday, April, whatever, right?
Yeah, yeah.
But to do it on this level where you, like we have seen recently, where you're putting together great names like epic classic heroes
Yeah.
with the young fighters also coming up, and there's something about the exact cadence of how regularly the cards are
Mhm.
regular enough to keep us excited, but not so regular that the fighters have to go in there with this urgency. You
Yeah,
might not, if you're not on the next card, um, somebody else can come in here and steal all the attention. Gloria's just killing it to me.
yeah.
They really
They
are.
are.
When you watch the last two cards, were you present for the last couple of
I
cards? Were
was,
you?
I was,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. The last
And
two,
what?
I was there. The fight between Rico and Jamal was for
Oh
me
yeah,
a very exciting
yeah,
fight, and I think maybe the fight between Butter Hari and the Polish guy Rozociak, that
yeah,
was for me one of the greatest upset that I've ever seen in
yeah.
the history of kickboxing.
Well, if only we could do it again, like this Saturday. Like,
Wow.
you know.
It would be crazy. What is your opinion if it happens?
Yeah.
What does Butter needs to do to win this fight, and what if he loses the fight?
So so what if he loses? Let's go there first. I think at this stage of your career, we discuss this often, and people on Twitter will say, oh, what does it mean for this guy's legacy?
Oh,
He's Badr Hari, right? Like he's Badr Hari forever. Everything
yeah,
he's ever done can never be taken away from him. If he
yeah,
loses, he'll be upset. The Badr army will be will be very upset.
yeah,
But
yeah.
to me, and of course he does. Vengeance at this stage of your career just must be the sweetest thing. So he
Yeah.
doesn't want to lose this fight, but you cannot take away anything that he's ever done. The um, but it was one of the craziest fights. Tell me what it was like to sit there and watch knockdowns, one-sided traffic, and then that kick.
Robin, I will tell you. I was sitting there, maybe I think a couple of feet from the ring. I was watching the fight, like you said, knockdown, knockdown,
Yeah,
knockdown, and I was turning myself to the audience, and all the Butter Hari fans, they were like, "Yeah, yeah, it's happening. It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen."
yeah,
And then I turned back, and then the high kick came, and I was like, and I immediately turned myself around to the audience, and everybody was like, "Oh, nah, this was crazy."
Yeah.
The thing
And
about Butter Hari is when he is fighting, it doesn't matter if he knocks the other one out. It doesn't matter if he loses. Everybody is talking about it.
yeah,
Everyone is talking
it's
about
true. Yeah, and that's kind of what I was alluding to. For purists, for like people who just truly love fighting, martial arts, that doesn't have to matter. But when it's also there, it just gets people like, we just posted on Glory Social a hype video or like a preview, and I'm putting a breakdown of this fight up, and you'll just see the comments: Butter Army, Butter Army, Butter Army, Butter's the greatest, Butter, 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 Butter. That the ability to capture the imagination of other people, and if two of the great fighters fight in my backyard and you got to see it, we would be blown away, right? Like it would be the greatest thing ever. But to the audience consuming it, and this was a quote I heard recently, they have to care. Saturday night, there's a lot of different things they could do, or Sunday, or Friday, when Glory 80 streams on Saturday. There's a lot of things they could do. So they need to care. The average person needs to be able to not watch a different sport or go on a date or whatever. And Butter makes you care, like you said.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that kick that dropped him after he just looked so good until that moment. He was looking so good. The kick itself, right? People would, I think Butter said it's a fluke, right? Is that what he said? I'm pretty sure he said that. Yeah. And many of those thousands of Butter Army people also said it. But when you look at the mechanics of the kick itself, when you were fighting, when the greats are fighting, there is a balance of the right equilibrium between relaxation and tension, right? And on your best shot, where you don't even, when you're throwing that kick and you're throwing a knee and the kick hits, you're tense, relaxed, tense. They call it a double pulse neurology. And it's very similar in many ways to whipping a towel. Right? Your great shot. And that's the kick that he threw up and caught Butter with. It was kind of just a flick. And so people are like, oh, the foot just caught him, but it is the whip of the foot that actually, and whether you call that fluke or not, if he doesn't stay in the fight, he cannot win the fight. Right? It's hard to ever call a moment like that really a fluke.
For me, it was the unexpectedness. It was unexpected for Butter to get kicked by Rosochet. And he was he was winning. He was in a winning mood, knocking him down for a couple of times. He was like, but still, like maybe we've said it once. When a line is hurt, he's maybe the most dangerous thing on this earth. When he's hurt, and that was you need to be focused until the last second of the fight. So,
you know what I just love what you said. And I know what you mean when I hear you say it, especially when I hear it and imagine he was in a winning mood.
Yeah.
That's a much more meaningful statement, I think, than people might think when they hear it by. This mindset that I am ruining you.
Yeah.
And that state of true flow where every decision you make feels like the correct decision.
Yeah.
Until a foot just whips you in the temple. And then that's the end. But that's the beauty of fighting, and that's the beauty of this rule set.
It could be over like this. Let's go on. We've talked about Butter Hari, and he was there since K1 and all that.
Yes.
But now you have two other fighters, Saki and Alistair, also coming back to Glory. What do you think about that?
Yeah. I personally love it, and I understand it. I'm sure there's a 22-year-old kickboxer somewhere who's saying, why do we need Gokhan Saki and Alistair over him? But fuck that kid. Because these are greats. Like, if you don't get excited when Gokhan Saki is going to fight, you must simply be dead. Like that. This is exciting. Like, these are great. This is not there is a a adult lifetime of connection to glory. This isn't, something. There are lots of people in Ohio somewhere who go on the internet and Glory's fighting. Oh, I recognize that guy. That is, Alistair and Gokhan isn't just for that guy. It's for people who are connected to the history of this sport and art form, right? And if you can't get stoked when Gokhan Saki or Alistair Overeem are coming back, then you don't love kickboxing. And no offense, I'm not trying to be rude, but
you're right about that, because Gokhan Saki and Alistair are, they belong to the great era of good fighters, perfect fighters, and I love to see them in the ring. The last time that I saw Saki in the ring, he was doing great, and he wasn't even in his best shape, but he was doing a perfect thing. And I hope that Alistair will have the same feeling when he steps in the ring, because he's been hurt the last time. He was injured in his back, and I hope he will recover from that, and I hope to see him real soon in the ring. Let's go over to the next generation of fighters. The next generation kickboxers, guys like Levi Richters, Donovan Wissa, Tijani,
John C. We talked.
Yeah. So, what do you think of them?
So Richter's is a mod. I was speaking with my friend Evan Boris. He's a high-level kickboxing coach here. He worked with Henry Hoof for many years, and I was talking about Richter's, and he said, he could be this generation's Remy.
Yeah.
Does that comparison? Do you hear that comparison? Does that pop around?
Well, a couple of people already mentioned it. They said, "Hey, this Levi Richters, he looked a bit similar like you when you were 25."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, we got a couple of similarities." The only thing I was like, I'm much more cuter.
Yeah, fair. To this day.
I'm just kidding. No, but when you see him moving around, light-footed, and he makes also the jumping knees. Love that when he fought against Kababes, we're like, okay, he's doing a great job. No, I love to see him fight, and also this weekend he's fighting against Jamal Ben Sadiq. Man, what do you think about his tactic? What does he do to win?
Oh yeah. So JBS, so dangerous, right? Yeah. Like, you're the young guy that's coming up, and people are starting to imagine, Rigters and the Rico, right? Like that's what you start thinking about, the young hot shot, going to fight the heavyweight great, the champion. That's what they imagine. But first you got to fight Jamal. And Jamal's super dangerous. My thought, and this was one of the reasons I think where the comparison to you early in your career makes sense, is you have to be, as you're still being authentically yourself as an artist, free to throw a flying knee, free to express yourself, dynamically. You still have to be defensively sound, right? Because if you get smashed, especially in the first few rounds of the first minute of any round by Jamal, you're gonna be unconscious or really, really compromised. So I think you have to find that balance, and it's a very hard thing to do in Glory. You don't see this sort of just strictly defensive fighter. It just doesn't work. I think for a young fighter like this, the balance between being defensively sound but understanding that keeping him busy with offense is a part of your defensively sound strategy.
Yeah. I agree on that. What if you look at the name that I just mentioned, which fight needs to be made?
See, this is a part that I'm actually terrible at. In my jobs, at different jobs, people always say, what's next for this guy? And my mind gets overwhelmed by all the possibilities. Do you know what I mean? Like, I just look at every single matchup and I go, oh yeah, I'd like to see that.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely. How about you? Like, what's the one that you, or even the audience? What is the audience telling you that has to be made?
Well, a lot of people are talking about Blazibat. Blazibat came in starting to break people,
Hmm.
tearing them down like plus about fought the last time against Benny Adibui. He was just
Yeah,
smashing him, and
yeah,
it was I didn't expect it to be like that. I was like maybe they're gonna
yeah,
go to the third round, but he was just smashing
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Benny
yeah,
Adibui.
yeah,
Unfortunate for him, but because he just fought against Butter, won from Butter, and then came to fight Plasi. But I was like, wow, what's happening, Benny? What's
yeah.
happening?
Hmm. Hmm.
But when he fought against Benny, I was like, hey, this Plasi, but
Yeah,
he's
it's
doing
real.
really good.
Yeah,
Would he be the next one to fight against Rico?
yeah.
If Alistair is not gonna fight Rico, then for me it would be really Plasibat. Yeah, Plasibat versus Rico.
So I like it, but you could say almost anything, and I'd be like, oh, I like that. Like, but imagine do you know Pleasant well? Are you close to him? Have you ever trained with
Well,
him?
no, I know him, but
Yeah,
we're
yeah,
not like
yeah,
every
yeah.
day drinking coffee together, but
Okay,
I
yeah.
know him. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but imagine now that instead you're living in the gym with him, you decided you're going to be a training partner with him, maybe even a coach. How do you assign him to fight Rico? Do you be hyper offensive in the first couple of rounds? You're Plazibat's coach right now. How do you get him to fight Rico?
That's an interesting question. Um, Plasibat has dangerous punches, very
Mm-hmm.
dangerous punches. And what I see when he's fighting, he's not using all of his all of his power, and not only the power, but you got two legs and two hands, use them.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing I said again to Jamal. Jamal has bombs in his hands, his bombs,
Mm-hmm.
but he's using only his bombs. But he got two legs also. Use
Mm-hmm.
them.
Yeah.
So if I would make a plan against Rico, I would start to train with Plaza Bite, your kicks. There is a lot
Yeah.
to be done with Plaza Bite. You
Yeah.
need to use your kicks, and especially his cardio, because if you have the basic, what uh, Rico mastered his cardio. He's really good at it.
Mm-hmm.
Cardio is perfect. His stamina.
Mm-hmm.
If you have that, then you can start winning from Rico. If you have
Mm-hmm.
enough air to do 10 rounds,
Yeah.
then you can win
Yeah.
from Rico. If you don't have it, leave it. Leave the fight.
Yeah. And you make a really fascinating point that I think really is such a root part of it. When we see, and this is some nerd stuff here, but when we're watching a fight, the moments that we see really are reflections of work that was done 6 and 8 and 10 and 15 and 20 weeks ago and
Yeah.
2 years ago and 4 years ago.
Mhm.
So the moments you have, if you're Plazibat, that you're meeting Rico in the ring, you must have done the work in the 4 and 6 and 8 months earlier with
Yeah.
a sprinting coach, strength and recovery coach, aerobic, anaerobic training,
Yeah.
everything possible so
Yeah.
that you could, if not match Rico, be very, very, very close to matching him that way. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that's
I,
what they need, because if let's say you would fight against Rico uh, 2 months from today, uh, then you're too late. If you start to
yes.
work on your cardio to fight against
Mm-hmm.
Rico, and for
Yeah.
you'll be too late.
Yeah.
You have to do that, months,
Yes.
years
Yeah.
back
Yeah.
to back. You have to do it every fight. Your cardio needs to be perfect, and in any sports,
Yeah.
that is your basic. Your
Yeah.
cardio needs to
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
perfect
Yeah. Yeah.
in order
It's
to
true.
to work and do all the things you want to do in the ring. Yeah.
Do you ever remember walking to the ring and on your way out thinking about the work that you did and realize you outworked that guy even before you get there? Did you have those thoughts?
Yeah. I am. As a fighter, you have many thoughts when you step out to the ring. You have many thoughts. Even when when you go out to the ring, you're like, man, I could have smashed him in the first round. If you won from him in the second round, you knocked him out. Let's say
Mm-hmm.
in the second round, you're like, man, I'm not even tired. I could have smashed him in the first round. But
Mm-hmm.
that is playing chess. You don't spill all your energy in the first round, because
Mm-hmm.
maybe in the second or third or fourth or fifth round. So there was many times that I stepped out in the ring. I was like, I could have done this. I could have done that, and your brain starts to work with you, and you're like, ah, man, I should have done this, I should have done that. Yeah. Hey, but
Yeah.
what do you think about guys like Bayrak and
Oh,
Serkan?
yeah. Yeah. So middleweight to me is some of the greatest kickboxing we've ever seen in glory.
Yeah,
That balance, that balance between high impact energy transfer and smooth skill and speed, and
yeah.
these two middleweights, they're both Turkish, right?
They're both Turkish, and in Turkey, they don't want to see this fight.
No,
They
too
really
bad.
don't want to see this fight. I
Too,
understand that. I understand it
yeah.
because when two Dutch fighters fight, everybody's like, "Oh, two Dutch fighters are fighting."
Mhm.
But the Turkish people have some kind of temperament. They have
Yeah.
something like we fight against another country, but
Yeah.
not Turkish
Yeah.
against Turkish.
Yeah.
We don't fight each other.
Especially, yeah. Especially both of these guys. Oh, yeah, it's kind of an ugly fight physically because
Mhm.
both of them will want to destroy each other's legs, I think.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
so you've got two Turkish middleweights of high impact who both want to ruin each other's legs, probably for the purpose, like you said. If you get my mind existing in my legs,
Mhm.
it's going to be easier for you to open up your hands. So you get a round and a half of them destroying each other's legs and them trying to do concussive damage to each other's craniums. Yeah, if I was a Turkish fan who and I understand what you're saying. The Turks are thinking, can we keep our two guys and
Mhm.
have them fight everybody else? Why do you
Yeah,
have to have them fight each other? But this is
yeah.
the fight, right? And
This is the
and it's
fight.
an exciting fight. It's
It
a
is. It
very
is.
exciting fight.
Who's gonna have the W for you?
God, I don't know. I don't know. Uh, I have a hard time predicting fights now. I used to, the mechanism that we tend to do is we make a prediction. But
Yeah,
the very greatest gamblers who gamble with their own money, who make more than say 1,000 bets, come up at about 55%. That means
yeah.
you're wrong 45 out of 100 times. So in
Mhm.
my mind, the less I predict, the more I can keep following my curiosity. The second I make a prediction, I
Uh,
start to look for reasons to be right. Right.
I
So
understand.
I enjoy fighting so much. At one of the, and I'm always looking for ways to. This is my favorite art form. This is my party when I get to watch Glory 80, right? So I find ways to elevate that experience. And for me, not anticipating a winner does that. But I'm a weirdo. I'm a weirdo. I wouldn't recommend this for everybody. How about you? Do you have a dog in the fight?
Well, these are two very excellent fighters. And if I'm looking at, if I'm looking at Bayrak, he hasn't fought for
Two
more than
years.
2 years,
Yeah,
more than
yeah,
2 years right now.
yeah,
And
yeah.
and his opponent Serkan, he fought. Was it the last? No, he
Second last glory.
yeah,
What?
second
Yeah,
last. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. He
yeah,
fought recently. He fought
yeah.
recently, and the thing is, if you're not in the fighting mode and fighting rhythm, it's gonna be hard to step into the ring
Mm,
again
mm,
and then do your thing. And
mm.
it's hard to predict, but maybe I will go for Serkan.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll go.
So
I'm not saying that Barek is not an excellent fighter. He is an excellent fighter, but for this one, maybe I
yeah,
will go with Serkan.
yeah. Let me
Yeah.
ask you quickly. Both sides. If you have to go in, or you're with a fighter and he has to go and he hasn't fought for 2 or 3 years, what can he do to kind of make that work for him? I guess slow the fight down if he can. And if you're fighting against a guy who hasn't fought in 2 or 3 years, do you put it on him fast?
Well, if I was the coach of a fighter that hasn't fought for like more than 2 years, the thing is to make a plan. The if you have a plan prior to the fight,
Yeah.
then and you know the opponent, then you can make a right plan. And
Hmm.
if the mindset of your fighter is on a good level, then you can step in with a plan that will work for you. Because
Hmm.
if you have a fighter that goes like, I don't know if I'm going to fight again, and that his
Yeah.
mindset is not in balance, then it's gonna be tough. If you have a fight like, oh man, I didn't fought for 2 years, now I'm gonna kill. Then you have to maybe slow him a bit down because you're gonna get crazy for in the first round and spill
Find the
all his-
pocket. Find
Yeah,
that pocket. Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
So
Cool.
that's would be my plan if I have to prepare a fighter, for his next fight. Hey, what do you think about the collab between Rise and Glory?
Tiffany Time Bomb.
Hmm.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's cool. That's a cool fight. It's actually Tiffany to me I think she was like a flashy kung fu fighter kind of early. And
yeah.
I don't know whether it's been time she spent in Europe, but she's become a much more, solid, structurally sound fighter. And
Yeah.
you got to find somebody for her. So you got to find real meaningful fights for her, I think. And this is one of those. Bring in the Rise champion, who's also super dangerous,
Mhm.
flashy. I think Tiffany's a star. Tiffany's a bit of a star too, which is great because kickboxing hasn't always had, I can think of a handful of female stars that have really captured people's imaginations in kickboxing.
Mhm.
Tiffany has that potential,
Yeah.
and Kobayashi has that in Rise. So I think this is the very best fight you can make in the world at that weight.
Yeah. I was happy about the collaboration. I was immediately think about heavyweight against heavyweight, or middleweight against middleweight.
Yeah.
I didn't
Yeah.
expect that they would start with a women's fight, but this fight, is great. Two strong ladies that will go at it. I'm looking forward to the fight. And the last time at the press conference, Tiffany mentioned, and she stood up. She was like, "Hey," she asked a question, "What do you like about women stepping into inside the ring?" I was like, "Okay, Tiffany, you want to be on that stage?
Yeah.
Show us that you
Yeah.
belong on
Yeah.
that stage.
Yeah. Yeah.
Show
Yeah.
us that, because
Yeah.
I want to see her not just winning on points. I want
Yeah.
to see her smashing people.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Me too. Yeah. Yeah.
knocking them down.
And this is that chance, right?
Yeah,
And that's heavy. That's heavy when
it
you have
is.
big dreams. You have big
Yeah,
dreams, and then you get what you want. You have to go do it. But I think
yeah.
she can do it. It's a tough opponent and a tough fight. But I think Tiffany can do it. If she's got her mind right and she's focused and she sees this for what it is, and she comes in with all of the right preparation, not just physical but mental preparation, I think she can do it. Fight women combat globally is a big thing.
Yeah,
It's a big thing. You see it for sure in mixed martial arts. It's become a very big thing, and
yeah.
in all types of fighting. This is a good chance here.
Mhm.
So for both women, for both Rise and for Glory. So and for
It is.
Tiffany. Yeah, Tiffany asked for it. So here you go, Tiffany.
Yeah, and it's unique. It's unique that those big two organizations are doing a collaboration. It's big.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah.
I want to thank you. I want to thank you for this conversation, and I'm happy, that we could have this preview for the show, this preview show for Glory 80, and I'm excited for Glory 80, and I hope the people that are watching are also excited to watch Glory 80, because there are exciting fights, and people need to watch it.
Yeah.
Give me just one prediction, Robin.
I was just about to just say Botter gets knocked out again, but that was only because I was gonna try to do my job and light up thousands of Botter obsessives. But I actually do think Botter is going to get his revenge, and it's going to be madness when he does.
Yeah.
And that is with all respect to his noble opponent. But I do think Botter will get his revenge, and I think when he does, people will go bananas.
Yeah,
it's going to be awesome. The show is going to be awesome, and I'm going to be standing by, waiting for the team at Glory to send me clips. I'm going to analyze it and do breakdowns immediately for social media within minutes of the finishes.
Nice. Thank you very much, Robin, and see you next time. Have a great one.
Thank you, my friend. Enjoy the hostilities.